Today on Rappler, the Philippines maintains its strong growth, posting a second quarter GDP of 5.9%.
Hindi ko na po iintayin yung waiver ng 189. I'm submitting this without any conditions whatsoever.
Dismissed Chief Justice Corona revokes the waiver he signed, opening his bank accounts to government agencies. But were you part of the corruption that existed?
No, these are in fact board policies.
The board, okay.
These are board actions.
Okay.
That as a member of the board,
Yes.
and then you would like to ask question. Hey, can we?
And whistleblower June Losada says he was not part of the corruption in the Arroyo administration. Hello, I'm Maria Rasa. Welcome to Rappler, your social news network. The Philippine economy grew by 5.9% in the second quarter, strengthening the Philippines' position as one of the economies to watch in Asia and the world. Catherine Visconti reports.
29-year-old Joey Santos is a veteran DJ in Manila. He started his own music studio when he was 21, but had to work 3 jobs to support himself and his music. In recent years, his studio business picked up. He was able to quit his office job and pursue music full-time. These days, he makes about 70 to 90,000 pesos a month.
Or the first thing that you feel whenever you sense economic growth in a country is the openness in terms of the audiences listening. If people can purchase better equipment, if they can purchase better avenues for listening to the arts, better outlets for viewing them, I think that's like a big part, that plays a big part in forming like the mass consciousness of everyone.
Young people like Joey are good for the economy. You don't have to look too far to see them spending, pumping money into the country.
That 15, 18 to 60 age group, if you see that growing faster than say the below 15 years old, you have what the demographers call demographic dividend, and that's when the economy can grow fast. You have a labor force that is growing rapidly.
The Philippines is now one of the fastest growing economies in the region, third only to China and Indonesia. End of August, the government adds another positive chapter to its growth story, announcing a positive 5.9% growth from April to June. The service sector, like tourism and outsourcing, was a main driver of growth. Flush with money, Filipinos spent. Household spending made up more than 60% of gross domestic product in the second quarter. Another rising source of growth was construction, fueled by government spending. Global analysts are taking notice. They're saying the country is no longer a joke. It's now one of the strongest performing economies in Asia and a bright spot in the region. But there are some dark clouds on the horizon. The peso may be getting too strong, which shrinks the value of remittances, a vital source of consumer spending. Mimi says her husband's salary as a singer on a cruise ship shrank over the years as the dollar got weaker. Money got so tight she pulled her daughter out of private school.
For me, whose husband is not here and working abroad, it's not good news that the economy is doing well.
Another cause of concern is the agriculture sector, which added a minimal 0.1% to GDP. Fisheries suffered a slump because of a temporary ban to alleviate overfishing. The government says the biggest external threats to the economy are disasters and weather phenomenons like El Nino. But despite the drawbacks, the economy, like these shoppers, doesn't seem to be slowing down. The economy has more momentum than it's had in a long time. The question is if the country can seize the day and keep up the good growth. Catherine Visconti, Rappler, Manila.
Remember this scene. It was one of the most dramatic moments of the impeachment trial of former Chief Justice Renato Corona.
Hindi ko na po iintayin yung waiver ng 189. I'm submitting this without any conditions whatsoever.
Last May 25, Corona signed a waiver during the impeachment trial opening his bank accounts to government agencies. Except Bureau of Internal Revenue Commissioner Kim Henares says Corona revoked the waiver soon after he was removed from office on May 29. The BIR filed tax evasion charges against Corona, his daughter, and son-in-law. Henares said the BIR discovered this after it asked the Banco de Oro Bank for bank records of Corona. Corona was removed from office for failing to declare his bank accounts in his Statement of Assets, Liabilities, and Net Worth, or SALN. 20 of 23 senators found him guilty of betrayal of public trust and culpable violation of the Constitution. For the first time in more than 20 years, Supreme Court justices released their Statement of Assets, Liabilities, and Net Worth, or SALN, to the public. All 14 justices, including newly appointed Chief Justice Lourdes Sereno, gave copies of their 2011 SALN to TV station Solar News on August 29th. Chief Justice Lourdes Sereno's declared net worth is 18 million pesos. Justice Mariano del Castillo is the richest at 108.9 million, while the poorest is Justice Presbitero Velasco at 7.2 million. For the full list, read Rappler.com's story, Justices Release SALN. Whistleblower June Losada claims he was not part of the corruption under the Gloria Arroyo administration, which he describes as a time when there was, quote, no moderation of greed. Losada is charged with 2 counts of graft for his decisions as CEO of government-run Philippine Force Corporation in 2007 and 2008. But were you part of the corruption that existed?
No, these are in fact board policies.
They're board, okay.
These are board actions.
Okay.
That as a member of the board,
yes,
and then you would like to ask question.
Okay.
Hey, can we?
So you're saying that the actions you took were
all
went through
above
due
board
process,
yeah.
and then
Everything, yeah.
Okay. Losada admits he was surprised by the charges, saying he did not expect it of the Aquino administration. He says aside from the death threats and harassment, a total of 16 cases have been filed against him and his family through the years. Losada blew the whistle in 2008 on former First Gentleman Mike Arroyo, former Commission on Elections Chair Benjamin Abalos. He accused the two of taking bribes from Chinese officials in the NBN-ZTE deal to computerize government agencies. Losada adds he does not regret being a whistleblower. From what you've seen now, a few years, 2 years down, a few years, four years down
yeah.
the road, was it worth it being a whistleblower?
But I guess the proper question to be answered is, do I ever regret doing it? There's no regret. Mm-hmm. Okay. I guess regret and being worth it
yes.
are actually two different matters. Will it be worth it?
Mm-hmm.
I really don't know yet. I cannot answer it yet.
Losada says the system must insulate bureaucrats from turning into what he called political mendicants when they become the underlings of appointees who are there for political payback. He adds he learned a very painful lesson.
As I said, one of the most painful lessons I've learned, there's no moderating greed.
Very famous.
Once you let go, or once you turn a blind eye to one,
yes,
that's it. There's no more moral ascendancy, there's no more authority to say no to others.
Yes. The palace orders a probe into the alleged involvement of Bureau of Immigration personnel in the escape of former Palawan Governor Roel Reyes and his brother, former Coron Mayor Mario Reyes. The Reyes brothers allegedly flew to Vietnam to escape prosecution for the murder of broadcaster Jerry Ortega in January 2011. The Ortega family asks the Court of Appeals, quote, to stand its ground and keep the murder charges and warrants of arrest against the Reyeses in light of information the Fugitive brothers are doing everything to get a favorable decision from the CA. The government is offering a 2 million peso reward for information leading to each of the brothers' arrest. A broadcaster, the late Ortega, criticized Reyes in his radio programs. South Korea sends a diplomatic document rejecting Japan's proposal that the two countries ask an international court to settle a bitter territorial dispute. South Korea received a letter from Japan last week suggesting they refer the dispute to the International Court of Justice. In its reply, Seoul says there are no territorial disputes in the islands in the Sea of Japan, known as Dokdo in Korea and Takeshima in Japan. Relations between the two countries deteriorated after South Korean President Lee Myung-bak visited the Seoul Japan-controlled islands on August 10th. He says the trip was intended to press Japan to settle grievances left over from its colonial rule over Korea. Japanese Prime Minister Yoshihiko Noda says South Korea is, quote, illegally occupying the islands. Chinese state media Wednesday says an upcoming trip to Asia by U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton aims to contain China and accuses Washington of causing trouble in the region. A commentary by the state-run Xinhua news agency says, quote, one objective of Clinton's tour is to contain China's increasing influence. It also adds Washington intends to benefit from stirring up disputes among nations in the Asia-Pacific. But the U.S. State Department insists it doesn't want to see the use of intimidation or force. It says, we want to see them settled at the negotiating table. On her third visit to Asia since May, Clinton is scheduled to travel to Beijing next week as part of the trip to meet China's Foreign Minister Yang Jiechi. Paul Ryan accepts the vice presidential nomination at the Republican convention and energizes Mitt Romney's White House bid by tearing down Barack Obama's economic record. Ryan says Obama's big government policies have failed.
After 4 years of getting the runaround, America needs a turnaround, and the man for the job is Governor Mitt Romney.
Romney is neck and neck with Obama in national polls ahead of elections on November 6. Democrats portray Ryan as a budget-cutting friend of the rich, but Republicans say he breathes fresh life into a reinvigorated race. 500,000 people will spend another night in the dark as Hurricane Isaac continues to cause flooding in the southeastern portion of Louisiana and the United States. The hurricane slows to storm force, but officials say it would be at least a day before crews can try to repair power lines. Dozens are trapped by floodwaters after a massive storm surge rolled water over the levees protecting low-lying Plaquemines Parish overnight. Officials plan to open more emergency shelters after ordering the evacuation of 3,000 people threatened by flooding. Let's now look at Rappler's Wrap for today, a list of the 10 most important events around the world you shouldn't miss. At number 5, researchers sounded the alarm about drug-resistant tuberculosis in the Lancet Medical Journal. They studied 8 countries, including the Philippines, and found 43.7% of TB patients did not respond to at least one second-line TB drug, used when the most powerful first-line drugs fail. In the Philippines, part of what causes the problem is the overprescription of antibiotics or the failure to take the full prescribed course. At number 7, while the Republicans were at their national convention, Barack Obama chatted on social site Reddit under its AMA Ask Me Anything section. His chat was announced about half an hour before with an original message. Quote, hi, I'm Barack Obama, President of the United States. Ask me anything. I'll be taking your questions for half an hour starting at about 4:30 Eastern Time. More than 200,000 visitors engaged with Obama, many of them getting error messages as servers struggled and some crashed. And at number 10, a new book by former Navy SEAL contradicts official U.S. accounts of how bin Laden was killed during the covert operations. Author Mark Bissonette, writing under the pseudonym Mark Owen, says bin Laden was shot in the head when he looked out his bedroom doorway. If true, it contradicts what U.S. officials said that the SEALs climbed the stairs of the compound and bin Laden went back into the bedroom. It raises questions about whether the al-Qaeda leader posed a clear threat to the U.S. commandos who killed him. Bissonette says he was a point man going up the stairs. For the full top 10, visit Rappler.com's The Wrap. Astronomers using a powerful radio telescope in Chile say they discovered sugar molecules, one of the building blocks of life, orbiting a young star similar to the Sun. The astronomers find the sugar compound glycoaldehyde in the gas surrounding the star, located some 400 light years from Earth. The European Southern Observatory says the finding shows that some of the chemical compounds needed for life existed in the solar system at the time of planet formation. Less than 24 hours before some of the best mixed martial arts fighters in the world meet in the cage for the country's biggest MMA event, they first step on the scales to make sure they make their weight class. Natasha Gutierrez reports.
Muscles, testosterone, and a pumped crowd. This is the scene outside Smart Araneta Coliseum a day before the Philippines' biggest mixed martial arts event in history, Pride of a Nation. The fighters face off for the first time during the mandatory weigh-ins to make sure each one is the right weight. They all qualify. Australia's Gustavo Falciaroli will see Bibiano Fernandez for the main event.
I don't expect anything from him. I don't look any holes on him. He's a complete fighter, just like I am. So we're there for a reason. So I'm concerned about my performance. As long as I do my good performance, and that's what's matter.
So I feel ready to go, and I'm excited for fight tomorrow. And I'm happy to be in Manila. I love Manila.
Crowd favorites Phil Baroni of the U.S., Brazil's Gracie Brothers, and the Philippines' Eric Kelly get loud cheers, while heavyweight fighters Tim Sylvia and Andrei Arlovsky put on a show for the fans in an intense face-off. Edward Falayang, dubbed MMA's Manny Pacquiao, also excites diehards. The Baguio-born wushu expert faces Japan's Felipe Enomoto. Falayang pledges to bring pride to the Philippines and says fighting for the country is a great feeling.
Well, I'm always happy representing my country. I represent our country for 11 years in wushu, and I'm so happy. Iba kasi yung feeling na itinatas yung bandera ng Pilipinas and then humihinto yung lahat ng tao, and then your national anthem is being sang.
MMA is widely considered the world's fastest growing sport. It uses the best techniques from martial arts like karate, Muay Thai, judo, and others so fighters can compete standing up or on the ground. The event's organizers expect the sport to continue expanding in Asia, especially the Philippines, because of the Filipinos' built and athletic ability.
The essence of MMA, is an all-round athlete, somebody that is agile, flexible. It's years of discipline in multiple martial arts, and a lot of Filipinos have that.
16,000 fans are expected to watch the event live, broadcast to 500 million people in 28 different countries. In the hearts of Filipinos, boxing may soon have competition. Natasha Gutierrez, Rappler, Manila.
Every story on Rappler has a mood meter which has 8 moods for you to choose from. Click on one and your vote is pulled together on the back end by the mood navigator, which is in the middle of the front page of Rappler. If you take a look at today's mood navigator, it's dominated by red. Started yesterday with Tito Soto's blasts critics, backs blogs, and you can see backs the blogging bill. A reaction, Walang Sugat, the sequel, starring Tito Soto, 71% angry. His original speech, Soto, Walang Krimen, na plagiarism. And a small patch of green today. Today's top story, Philippine economy grows 5.9% in the second quarter. What we saw today actually was interesting because during the day, this mood navigator turned green, and then shortly before the evening hours, it turned red again. So you saw the mood navigator become a battleground for pro and anti-Soto supporters. Today, most people are angry. That's Rappler's Newscast for today, Thursday, August 30th, 2012. Visit Rappler.com and watch our newscast Monday to Friday. Tell us how you feel on our mood meter and help us choose the mood of the day. I'm Maria Ressa. As we say at Rappler, tomorrow begins today.